Hello, if you're a student looking to increase your savings, then this is a great place to start because we're going to discuss 4 easy steps to help you build a personal finance routine to ensure that you are consistent in your savings and achieve all of your savings goals. Step number one is to get pocket money, a fixed amount that you get every single month, ideally at the start of month. Now, this step is super important because if you're in the habit or routine of asking your parents for money every time you have an expense, then it is very likely that when you start getting a real paycheck that pays well, it doesn't matter how much you earn, you will end up living paycheck to paycheck because all your life you have been trained to kind of spend money every time you get it. So getting pocket money or a fixed amount every month gives you a sense of responsibility, gives you a small amount of money to kind of experiment and play around with your budgeting style, your saving style, and just overall teaches you a lot. But the first step is to kind of take a hold of how much money you're going to use for the rest of the month. So sit down with your parents, negotiate an amount based on how much you think you will require for the entire month. And ideally, after that point, you don't want to ask them anything for the rest of the month. Don't worry, the next 3 steps will ensure that you don't have to ask them for money. But the first step is definitely sit down and help them understand the advantages of pocket money if they're hesitant, and start getting a fixed amount every single month. Step number two, decide on a savings percentage. Now, this is a very important step, and the reason why it comes before any of the other steps is that irrespective of what kind of expenses you have, irrespective of what kind of habits you're already into, deciding on what you're going to save first before you decide on what you're going to spend on kind of already gets you into the savings mindset and puts you into a good habit and routine of consistency and discipline with your savings. Now, with personal finance, the one thing to remember is that it doesn't matter how much you're saving, but how often you're saving. So even if it's really small, tiny amounts, it doesn't matter, because I remember when I was probably from the 7th grade up till the 12th grade, I used to save from 10 rupees to 200 rupees a week. But by the time I finished schooling, I had 60,000 rupees just sitting in my bank account and multiple FDs created. And this all started because I started saving the smallest amounts of money, and didn't really matter how much it was, but how often I was doing it. So decide on a savings percentage. Now here you can use the 50-30-20 rule, which is a universal budgeting rule, where you save 20% of your income. But if you are an Indian student and you're living with your parents, or your parents are covering your education, your entertainment, and your living expenses, then I would urge you to save anywhere between 30 to 50% of your income or your pocket money. I know this sounds a lot, but trust me, this is the best time to save because you don't have any responsibility when it comes to any bill payments or any sort of expenses. And you want to maximize this amount and try to save and invest as much as you can. Hello, welcome back. Sorry, I just realized that I was cutting half of my face away. Anyway, moving on to the third step. Choose a place to lock away and grow your savings. Now, this step is super important and has multiple different aims. The first one is to protect your savings from inflation. Inflation is when the average prices of the entire country goes up, which means the purchasing power of your single rupee goes down. So if you could purchase a bicycle today for 100 rupees and the inflation rate is 5%, then next year the same bicycle will cost you 105 rupees. So as much as you're not literally losing money, you are losing purchasing power, which is never a great idea because you're working pretty hard to put this savings away and you want to protect it at all costs. So if you don't have a bank account, I would highly suggest that you pause the video right here. I will link some zero minimum balance savings account with best interest rates, and you get a bank account straight away. Because it also allows you to play around with the other financial tools and instruments that we will be talking about sometime now. So if you do have it, then the second step is to make sure that you're not kind of dipping into your savings and spending it on something that you haven't planned for, because when you do start seeing your bank account having a better balance every time you put in some savings, you will be tempted to spend it. It is very normal. You have done it, I have done it, no guilt. whatsoever, but you don't want to do it in the future. So kind of having a place where you lock away your savings will prevent you from doing that. Number 3 is a sense of discipline. This is where the instruments come in. You can choose a fixed deposit or a recurring deposit or other investment options that are there. These two are the most basic ones that you can start with. A fixed deposit is when you have a fixed principal amount that you commit to the bank for a certain period of time, and they give you a fixed interest rate. A recurring deposit is similar to a fixed deposit, except like the name suggests, it is recurring. So you can select a date every single month and commit a certain fixed amount to the recurring deposit, and for a fixed period of time at a fixed interest rate again. Now, the best part about getting a bank account and technology is that you can automate your savings so that you don't have to depend on your discipline or your prioritization or just forgetfulness with a busy life itself. Once you automate something like a recurring deposit, every single month a certain amount that you decide, whether it's 500 or 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000, that amount will be debited from your account directly and is contributed to your recurring deposit. Make sure to check if there are penalties if you miss your payments for a certain amount of period, but otherwise it's a great place to start. And I will make a video on where you can make small term investments or small amounts to invest in a whole different video, but a recurring deposit or fixed deposit, if you're just starting out, is a great place to start. The fourth most important one is that if you're starting early, again, I will repeat myself, it doesn't matter how much you're saving, but how consistently you're saving and for how long you're keeping your savings locked away for it to churn that interest rate again and again and again and let it compound. Now, compounding is called the eighth wonder of the world because it kind of compounds exponentially. So your small 100 rupee has the potential of kind of becoming a lakh over time or even more with compounding. So choosing to lock away your savings and having a place for it to grow will also be a really great motivation overall to see your money grow and not kind of having to add to it every time. And it kind of works by itself. So choose a place to lock away your savings. Now, we're in a very sweet spot here because if you have done the first 3 steps, which is start getting a fixed amount every single month, decide on a percentage that you will save or contribute to your savings every single month, and also choose a place where the savings goes, then it's a great discipline and first personal finance routine to start. So the fourth step is, I wouldn't say optional, but if you're doing these first 3 steps right, then the fourth step becomes much easier, which is to budget your expenses. Now, I am someone who strongly believes that personal finance is preferential, which means that I am no one to tell you where you should be spending, whether it's your dinner dates or your gadgets or your Starbucks coffee, you decide. But budgeting your expense lets you spend your money on places that you do prioritize, lets you track your spending habits, and also if you do have a big goal that you start working towards, then you can decide where you want to cut off and increase your savings percentage, and many more insights in general that you get. So learn to budget your expenses. You can definitely look up some videos with different budgeting styles and whatever suits you best. So yeah, these are my 4 steps to start off your personal finance routine. I hope you enjoyed this video and the content, of course. And please give it a thumbs up if you did. Let me know in the comments down below if you have any other topics that you would like me to explain or talk about, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.